America is be true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, haunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied.
Well, good morning again, and welcome back to At the Round Table with Mamley. I'm your host, Larry Ellison, and my co-host, my brother from another. The doctor is in the house to give you a checkup from the neck up.
And all is fine. All is fine.
Good morning. Dr. Bradley, a.k.a. Dr. Vila.
Yeah, I got a Dr. Vila issue in my house now.
This old house, man. If you have any home economic work you need done, give us a call at 617-282-0685. Dr. Bradley will put you on the list. He has become quite the skilled handyman. They have fruit in the fruit section. Honeydew.
You're married to a woman like mine, man. You gotta have some kind of way of mastering in the hammer and how to work the skill saw and all those things. Right?
Well, you think it's bad now? I heard she's going to be retired soon, so that list is only going to grow.
Well, the bathroom is next.
Okay.
The bathroom is next.
All right. We want to thank our sponsor, Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 781-342-0252. Guaranteed Mortgage is located at 75 State Street in downtown Boston, Mass. Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company, guaranteed to exceed your expectations. Well, as we told you earlier, folks, our guest has arrived. He is here in studio. It's been a while, but T. Michael Thomas from the People's Academy is in studio today. He's going to update you and us on what's going on with the People's Academy and how you can help this worthwhile effort to get going. I know they've purchased some land at Townsend and Warren Street. It's been a while since they've purchased that, and it's funny because I work. My office is right across the street at Latin Academy, so I look out that window. It's right where, and I'm like, oh man, I'm waiting for the groundbreaking ceremony, and it hasn't happened. I know it's not from a lack of effort from him. So, folks, if you want to help out, give him a call, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help. For your help and any donations to help them get this worthwhile cause moving forward. Again, T. Michael Thomas, welcome back to
Thank you, sir.
The Round Table.
Thank you. It's been a while.
It has been too long, sir.
Yes.
I'm going to have you pull up a little bit so folks can hear you. I know you got that Barry White bass.
I wish I did. I would be paid, then I could build a school.
Man. You
do with your own funds, huh?
Right.
Folks, if you're watching this on TV, you are not watching a interview. This is not the black version of Curly from the Three Stooges, right?
Right.
Well, you know what it is. We all got that shine.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, wow. To my right, to my left. Okay. So Pastor Hobbs is over there laughing. He's like, I got my hat on. I'm good.
I'm gonna have to put mine on, man.
But T. Michael, again, welcome back to the People's. So, first of all, before we get in, we're going fast forward. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine and tell folks how People's Academy got started, what you do, what your actual trade is, and you have quite an unusual skill set.
Yes, thank you, Larry, for that. The People's Academy was created based on systemic racism, straightforward.
Wow.
As an individual of color, being in the union, I saw a lot of racial disparities, a lack of participation for black and brown people in the trades, in the union, in the sheet metal union in particular. And I've always challenged it to say, why aren't there more people basically that looks like me? And one of the things they said was, well, we don't have the time or the ability or the resources to train them. Why don't you? So when I got to the point that I've learned and mastered the trade, I left and started the People's Academy.
But what is that trade that what is the trade that you're talking about, referring to?
The trade that we're teaching, I'm a cornice worker, but it falls under sheet metal, so it's a historic trade. So when you look at the buildings with the oxidized copper, like the Statue of Liberty, the patina green, or all the detailed historic architectural design on the old, a lot of it is in a lot of the old city, state, federal, city-owned buildings.
The State House, in particular, right?
Correct. The State House, the exterior of a building, you'll see the slate and the copper, just the metal in general. That's what we teach individuals, how to fabricate and install it. And like I said, it's protected to the Constitution, because what was done then has to maintain its original architectural design. So there's a strong need for that trade.
And also, to that point, is that not everyone has that skill set. How rare is your skill set and what you're teaching people to embrace and to learn? What population in this country? Let's bring it home. In this state, how many companies are there with your skill set that you're doing, that you're skilled at, and also that you're teaching other folks?
I've been through the union, and I've also worked in a few non-union outfits, and I've never met a company owner or a subcontractor, general or sub, that involved with this aspect of the building trades. I've seen people, black and brown people, in different skill sets, but not the cornice trade. I've not seen it. I've never heard of it. I've checked with folks in different places. Folks have done research that they have not found a coppersmith of color anywhere in existence, to their research.
Now, I know you said there's the racial component, because that seems to be a flavor in every aspect in life when you're a person of color trying to work anywhere. That seems to be a theme. But in your field, your expertise in the industry of carpentry and just in the trade of housing, with this boom going on here, what is the starting salary for someone, an apprentice, and where would that go to someone that is a master of it like yourself? Like, what would the income, economic benefit be for someone just starting, a journeyman, and then someone of your skill set?
A journeyman,
because then we know why the racism exists. Right. That's why I just put a dollar on it.
That's right. Thank you for that. A first-year apprentice in the union, their salary, their hourly rate, not their overall package, their take-home rate, it's $20 and up. A journeyman, after 5 years, a journeyman's salary, take-home salary, it's $54 an hour. The overall package with the benefits, it's $109 to $10 an hour. A person of my skill set, if I walk on a non-union or union, I would get a minimum of between $175 to $200+ an hour.
Wow. What? So you could work one. That guy, Dr. Brown.
Well, there you go. I think it's two pieces. I think the money that it requires to hire someone of this skill set, and the rarity. The fact that there are very few people with that skill set. The less people, more money that you can hire, more money, more racism. This is all connected. So what he's doing is that he's replenishing or addressing the lack of individuals who have that skill set, thereby possibly reducing. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So because what he's doing, in my opinion, and I think anyone who has actually, got life going through them can see this, is that you're giving people an opportunity to actually make a living. And when they do that, they have less time for crime. So it's addressing issues that we sit here and talk about every Saturday.
To your point, Dr. Bradley, at a meeting I was yesterday, and they were showing the income that someone who's making $20,000 or less is more likely to be arrested and in the system than someone that's making over $50,000. Usually means that they're not making a living, and they don't care about losing that little job they might have at Walmart or someplace. And there's nothing wrong with those jobs. I'm just saying is that they feel like they can get another one. But when you have a skill, you're less likely to want to jeopardize. I'm not saying that people don't, but you're less likely.
But in addition to that, you also place when you commit that crime, you make an arrest, and that individual goes to jail. Now you become a member of a pool of workers who are paid considerably less.
Absolutely.
See it?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You become that free labor,
Right.
that reduced labor individual now that they can get through the prison system.
Right.
And it's okay under the Constitution. We call it the 13th Amendment.
617-282-0685, 617-282-0685. You're listening to At the Round Table with Mamleo. In studio, our guest from the People's Academy, T. Michael Thomas, is in studio to explain this. So, T, where did you come up with the name, the People's Academy? How did you come up with that? I know, but for our listening audience, and where are you operating at now, and have been really since the beginning of this?
That's Larry. I thank you for that question. The People's Academy's name came from me watching the older brothers talking about the people, and me personally growing up, the N-word, it still gives me the chill.
Same
I
here.
hate the word. I'm being honest.
Yes,
hate
same
that
here.
word.
I agree
Young
with
kid
you.
called me that the other day. I
I agree
almost
with you.
lost my
You know,
mind. But go
and-
ahead.
I agree with you.
We've always been taught, brothers, not the N-word. And the people, and it was always about the people when brothers back then, putting up the fist it's about the people. So that's where that came from. Fast forward, where things are now, I've been operating out of pocket for over 15 years. Last year was the first year we ever got a grant that we was able to have 32 people on the payroll, train some folks, and stuff like that. But let's go forward a little because
But let me tell you. So, are you still operating out of your home?
out of my house, correct. So now the third floor, second floor, basement, back of the house, side of the house is the People's Academy.
Right.
Really?
And
The place where I
Now
visit-
we're in two floors. Yes. Now we're in 2 floors. Not 1, 2 now.
And so, I think for folks to understand, the reason why I bring that up is because in this market, this housing market, to put that into perspective, what could you get for rents for those 2 units if they were on the market today, and you're in a very good neighborhood?
I'll lowball it. A minimum per floor, $2,000.
Okay.
Lowball it.
But
We're using 2 floors.
But
So that's why I went with $2,000.
So $4,000.
But what would you get if you actually renovated and sold each one of those units as a
go? Now we're talking
as a
millions.
condo? I mean, come on.
But this is where we're at now. We have the land designated to us on the corner of Quincy and Warren, but Department of Neighborhood Development is still trying to take it back.
Trying to take it back.
Yeah, absolutely. They're
What
putting
they call
pressure
them?
on
Indian
us.
givers back in the day.
Also, we have expanded temporarily.
Wait a minute. Let's stop. Let's back up for 1 second. I'm gonna bring the call in a second. So they've given you no assistance to help you get going and put roadblocks in your way, and now they're saying you haven't done enough because it sounds like and they
Right.
want to take it back from you. The city.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we have expanded right now next to Star Market on Morrissey Boulevard with the help of Councilor Frank Baker. The developer gave us a spot there for like 2 or 3 years because the building is coming down. From there, for us to leapfrog into the Globe building, the old Globe building, because they're coming in there with tech, STEM, lab stuff. So People's Academy would be a pipeline to get some black and brown folks into that whole innovative
So you're going
world.
to move into there. So are you still planning
As
on?
an extension,
Oh,
yes.
okay. So that's going to be a satellite for
Correct.
People's Academy, but the main structure isn't
Quincy and
intended to
Warren.
be it. Okay.
With living workspace. But this particular location in Morrissey Boulevard, that we recently, there was a boat shop, carpentry shop down in the seaport. We just took it over, basically all the equipment, tools. It belongs to People's Academy now. So we have a full setup of carpentry, sheet metal, welding.
And how many students can you run through there? And how long does it take to get
Well,
from start to completion?
our focus is to create trainers.
Okay.
We're taking an aggressive approach. We're focusing on training individuals to train, that we can then create a broader spectrum of the training piece. We're hoping that come March, that we could, launch this satellite, but we still need some operational support, funding to get this going. We see what's happening on the street. It's extremely hot. There's a lot of smoke, but there's also a lot of money at this, on a state level, federal level, and city level. They're looking for solutions. Here is a solution, a solution to address that, especially the income inequality, homelessness, joblessness. What we have to understand, the American people, if they support the People's Academy, it's an investment that folks could take care of their family, community, and contribute to the economy.
All right,
that's what it's about.
Let's squeeze a call in before we get back to some more questions. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the Roundtable with Ma'am Leo.
Good morning, my strong young kings. I'm Sharon Hinton, and I have...
You know that sweet voice.
Praise God. I give honor to Pastor Wall, who continued to fight for this voice of the community with the Boston Praise Radio. Larry Ellison, you have been invaluable to me as a friend and a law enforcement officer when we had to plan the commencement caravan. You cooked me up with the individuals. You are this quiet giant that is so underrated, but I'm kind of glad people aren't giving you the promotion, because we know what happens in the community. Other people want to come in and tear you down. I know that, so you have helped me form even Black Teachers Matter, the nonprofit, and kept me from getting arrested when I was protested. So I've known you for many, many years as a brother of integrity. T. Michael, I actually met at another radio station years ago at Touch, and it was a fluke, but I don't think it was a fluke. I think it was a divine connection. And I've been supporting him and still working with him. And it's the value of a diversionary program to keep people from going to prison, and also it's Corey friendly, all of the trades that he's talking about. And I know for a fact that there are people that have come out of there, that have out of prison, and have gone into People's Academy, who are now incredibly employed, who are not thinking about, they be thinking about violence, but they're not perpetrating violence. But so the jewel and the gems and the seeds that you are growing generationally are turning people's lives around. And I've heard the testimonies. I've seen the testimonies. I always go down to his shop. I talk to him on a daily basis, and he's always tinkering. Like, this is a later time in the morning for me to talk to him, because he and I usually talk at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, planning. And he's like, he's working, he's creating. He is an incredibly
well, Sharon,
intellectual genius and creative. And my encouragement from this morning, because I know you have a large listenership, is for the elected officials to get up off their blessed assurances and put their money and put their influence behind this brother. I mean, at every single level. City council, school department. He's had talks with RCC. He's had talks with Madison Park. It's time to stop, trying to run him around the drain and put their money where his mouth is. I'm encouraging you all.
So let's just jump in. First, let me thank you for your kind words. And, my motives are to help our folks, so that's always been my objective at Mamley. Like I told folks, I don't need a title to help my people. That is my job. And I can hear your passion about the People's Academy and the work that T. Michael Thomas is doing. And I think where we fall short is that the community doesn't have the passion. There's not enough passionate people like you, T. Michael, myself. I'll put myself in that arena of folks out there pushing, because we do, and what happens is that they try to put labels on us as being the troublemakers, right? And we're stirring up the pot, right? All we're asking, when you really tear back all of that, the shenanigans, is that access, equality, things they claim that this whole Black Lives Matter was all about, right? And the opportunity, and I told folks, we unfortunately live in a moment and not in a movement, and we didn't take a good advantage, because during that time there should have been a bigger push for programs like the People's Academy and others, and our education system, because like T. Michael's program would stop that pipeline to prison, right? Because we were talking yesterday at a meeting I was at, and we were looking at the economic money of folks, and very few people that make over $50,000 go to jail, because they don't want to lose that job. They know if they get out, the likelihood of them getting another job, and that's not a whole lot of money, but that seemed to be the benchmark, where anyone making $20,000 or less were most likely to be incarcerated, or because they were doing other things to try to supplement their income. So you're right, but how do we galvanize and get more people to help with such a worthy cause as the People's Academy?
So, real quickly, I want to bring up 3 points.
Yep.
Something that I didn't know that T. Michael told me, and I don't know if you guys talked about it yet, but the $10 million that was spent on that Embrace Monument
we
was not spent in Boston. It was not spent in Massachusetts. And so I know that T. Michael has always been conscious of what's coming back to the community and what's going through the community in terms of employment opportunities. That's one thing. The other thing is I met Sophie Carmichael, a.k.a. Kwame Ture, years ago in D.C., and I asked him, like, what do black folks got to do? I mean, seriously. And he was like, organize. He said, I organized 5 different organizations, and 3 of them tried to kill me. But I know that that's what we need to do. And the other thing, because I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, is we have to educate. And Malcolm X said only a fool will allow his children to be educated by his enemy. We have so many people that are clueless, that don't know and don't want to know. And the young people are hungry, but they're misdirected. I mean, and they're being programmed by social media, by people that don't mean to do us any good, who are not representing us. But there's a vacuum because people are in survival mode. I mean, COVID did a number, and we were already in survival mode before we went through COVID for 3 years. And so right now there is this push against black educators and black leaders in BPS that are incredible people. I know them. P. Michael's known them, Dr. Abdi Ali and Dr. Tony Vandermeer. They are doctors, and Tony Vandermeer is fighting for the Africana Studies at UMass, and Dr. Abdi Ali was one of the educators who was pushed out of BPS, who was heading a department to get black educators licensed so they could get into the schools in BPS.
No,
so
you're right.
There's a 400-year concentrated effort of white supremacy and oppression to keep us dumb and to fight against each other and waste energy. Like, I don't really care about this statue. I think, that's another thing. But it's the money. It's the money. Well, that's what I said.
It's also a money maker for the city, and you're right, because the governor in Florida, he's now saying that you can't teach black history and things about, but you can teach about German and all these other Italian, all these other things. But you can. So T. Mac's going to say something. We got to grab the other calls, Sharon, but we definitely have to get together. So T. Mac, you wanted to say something to her before?
Yes. What I wanted to point out there, when it comes to black folks, they focus on putting in front of us a lot of symbolism, but nothing to do with economic upliftment, and that, to me, it bothers me.
No, I agree. Sharon, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And listen, let's get together soon. I appreciate you calling in and supporting such a worthwhile cause, and continue to do so. We got to do this together. Thank you.
God bless you all.
Thank you, my sister. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the Roundtable with Mamleo.
Good morning, my brothers. How's everyone doing this morning?
Wow, folks are up early today.
We're in the fight.
Yes, sir. I just want to say, for all the folks who are on social media talking about this Embrace statue, about this and that, who didn't have opinion in that statue. This is a program right here, our art program, our art, because that's what he's going to do on houses, is artwork. Invest your money into him.
Right. So Terrence, why do you think it is, I'm just being facetious probably here, that T. Michael is not getting the funding, that we can spend $10 million for a statue, or they can raise $10 million for a statue, that really the only beneficiaries are going to be as a city, may bring a little more tourism to that area, right? And yet we can't invest, and there's been such an infusion. Matter of fact, the state had to give back tax money because they had taken too much of it, right? So it's not like there's not money available. It's just not being allocated to such a worthwhile program. Why do you think that is?
Well, the governor of Florida already said it. We can't be training some black folks, to education. Education is the key to the power. So if T. Michael educates them, what do you think that will make our young black men and women, if they're educated by another black man, on how to build, to make money, to start their own economic funding and everything else. It will put them out of business. It will make them, say like, okay, we no longer have the power. You have to look at, Black Wall Street. When Black Wall Street was started, it put, it brought down their economic walls, to where we listen, we need more money.
Well, I think what it realizes, whether you're black, white, or whatever, but if the money is green and that's the color that
exactly, that's it. But the thing about it is we're spending among our own people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and our own people are, are benefiting from it. Our own people are getting rich. Our own people, have the power.
Right. Stand by for a second, Terrence. T. Michael wanted to weigh in on that.
Sorry, brother Terrence. I wanted to highlight this again. When you look around Boston, there's over 18 billion in new construction.
With a B.
The last 10 plus years. Not even going back as far as the Big Dig. There are linkage money, so every square foot of every land.
What is linkage money for our viewers, listeners that don't know?
Linkage money is monies from every construction that is built on city-owned land. A portion of that money goes back, supposed to go back to the community for community upliftment.
Okay.
You're talking over 18 billion since the Big Dig. Here we have, fast forward, an industry that is needed for these bodies. Joe Biden himself said we're short of over 3+ million construction workers, union or non-union. Mm-hmm. Right now, the federal government, look at the speech from the president himself, Joe Biden, at the Martin Luther King breakfast. He's getting ready to allocate billions towards the wealth gap, income inequality, etc. A lot of it comes around construction. Right. Look around Boston. There is nothing prepared to receive except the racist unions.
But that's what we were talking about, T. Michael, Dr. Bradley, in our 7 o'clock hour, is that Sagun, who I like a lot, who is head of economics, but if he said right now, T. Michael Thomas, I have a $10 million contract to give to you, you don't have an infrastructure, because it takes, like I said, when I remember talking to Mario Susi, the senior who started the company years ago at a detail. I said, how did you get started with this? He said, I had one truck and I painted the number 37 on it so people thought I had a fleet of trucks, and I was able to build that up. But if you don't have even the money to get a truck, or you don't have an infrastructure in place, this is really worthless for you to see all this money out there if they're not going to give you any assistance to help you build up.
Right, Larry. What I got to point out, why we need the People's Academy. Mm-hmm. We, all of us. You have an industry, $1 billion industry. So you have to get individuals in the right mindset, in the right skill set, in order to maintain and to survive in the trades, in the business. If you just sign folks up, especially towards the union, 6 months later, they're gone. Why we need People's Academy, it's a reinvestment. In that way, now the city has enough funding that they can turn around and reinvest or invest into the People's Academy, because you or I wouldn't go to the doctor if they've never been trained or tested. Mm-hmm. So this is why we need to train folks that they could perform and survive.
So Dr. Bradley, let's get this from an academia, a public policy perspective, and see. I like to have you take this all in and then give us your analyzing this. How would you approach this situation with T. Michael and trying to plug in our community? Because I think that's where the vacuum is, sir, is that we're not working together. We're still in this silo mentality. Mm-hmm. How long have we been doing this show? You and I have been doing this forever, mm-hmm. and trying to educate our folks on the power of voting, mm-hmm. taking on mm-hmm. your own personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. You and your wife have educated your children. Mm-hmm. We're doing the same in my household because we see the value of that. What's the public policy approach to this, sir?
this is a difficult issue because we have been conditioned in America as black people to actually be subordinate. That is the first thing, because it's a mindset.
Okay.
All right, so we're talking about shifting a demographics mindset. To shift this, it's going to take the complete and thorough support.
It's going to be a seismic shift.
Of the entire demographic, in my opinion. He's not the only one throughout the country that are doing it. I told you before we got on the show that I saw this white guy that was doing something similar, and he got all the recognition. That's because of what he looks like. So why don't we? Because we can put the pressure on those individuals who are coming into our community every election cycle to say we're going to do these different things. There's no need for this idea to die, because what he's creating here is a viable workforce who can now go into the industry, make a subsistent, good living, I should have said good living, and get out away from the criminal justice system. But unfortunately, our people have been designated as the low-cost labor people for the criminal justice system. And that's what's happening, because if you don't make the money, you're more apt to actually commit the crime. And when you do that, you're put into a criminal justice system that's going to use you for cheap, inexpensive
you
labor.
raise a very good point there, because if you notice around the country, particularly in more conservative states, prisons have become privatized, right?
Yeah.
So they become a business, and if you have a business, you need customers.
Yes, right.
Right.
That's right.
And that's the only place where we are overrepresented, contrary to our population.
Well, when you look at the America in its Western industrialized state, all right, it incarcerates more people than any other Western developed country in the world, and the majority of those people that's incarcerating are people that look like us.
Wow. So good.
Can I touch in right there for a second? Look at the prison system in Israel. They have people that are bombers, but they're training them just in case someday they return to society, they're employable. Fast forward in America, when it comes to black people, they do everything systemically to keep them of that mindset and of that skill set. But the prison industry is an $80 billion industry.
Yeah.
$80 billion. And they will, in America, they will put money into everything but except for uplifting a black person.
So
everything.
Before we get back to these calls, so T. Michael, how many people would you say you have been able to get through your program since its conception?
I would say over 2,500. And not everyone is in the construction industry.
And how well are
Of
they
every
doing?
career path.
And
Folks,
how well are they doing? How are they doing?
extremely well.
And let me follow up on that
there-
question. Go ahead, good doctor.
There lies the threat. All right. This is why I'm telling you that it's going to take the complete support of the demographic, the black demographic,
Yeah.
to get this change, because we have been targeted as the low cost for our prison system. There's a reason why the forefathers, when they wrote the 13th Amendment, put in that clause, except when you are convicted of a crime, because the South needed those cheap workers. Those workers now are being leased out for construction for our military industry, for different private companies.
Right.
There's a reason why for that. So when he comes in with a program like this, you're disturbing that pipeline. You're upsetting it. So you have to have people in the community saying, we are not going to vote for you.
Right.
We're not going to put you in office unless you actually do something for us. And this is where it starts.
Well, that's why I was going to follow up. What you were saying was that how many of those 2,500 have called you from prison or from jail?
No, doesn't happen. They own homes, second homes, things like that. But I know there's calls waiting. But what's important, we really got to also, Larry, that you and I and Dr. Bradley have always talked about, our elected officials. We have to hold them accountable because they're there to represent us.
So, So the mayor is having her state of the city. This should be part of the conversation. Why isn't something of this magnitude in her conversation and pushing this, right? And that's because of us. Because there's not enough of us pushing this. Want to grab this call. Terrence, stand by. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
I have a question, and my question is: now that we have a new governor, will she push for T. Michael to get his People's Academy up and running, to convince the legislators up in Beacon Hill that this is what the community, if not what the state needs? So,
well, I think the question should be better phrased that will we push her? Not, we have to push her. She's not going to push without being pushed.
There you go. When she's running in our community, or when the mayor's running in our community, or anyone else, the question should be, will you support?
And then can we get it in writing?
And can we get it in writing? This is really it. Because the bottom line here is that, and I'm asking you this question: how many people? And you may have already answered this question. Well, I'm probably mentally someplace else, but I'm gonna answer it again. How many people have you helped? Came from were returned community members to the community from prison. How many folks came from prison and you actually attended your program and you helped them develop the skill?
I would say more of the 90% of the folks that comes through the People's Academy has been on the other side of the wall.
Okay, and how many of those individuals have returned back to the other side of the wall? Which is what we call recidivism, by the way.
I would say no more than 3 to 5%. Very low. But I have to say this too, that we have folks on that are elected officials that are rubbing shoulders with the governor, with the mayor.
That's my case.
They are our voice at the State House, at City Hall,
right,
to demand.
Well, that's true, but let me tell you, it's not that's them. See, again, I go back to we have to. Let me give you a good example of that. During my time as president of MAMLEO, Dr. Bradley was there with a lot of these events, that we got our members to finally understand that it's not just the president, the vice president, and the board going down there. When we got our members to stand with us in these protests out there and putting this out to the public, that's when the mayor late Menino, called me and said, hey, we need to sit down and talk. And things started moving. It wasn't because of just me, because he could ignore a couple of us.
The people spoke.
The People's Academy should be the people's mission, right?
Yep.
And I'm talking about all of us. That's why we always welcome this conversation here. But it's got to spread like a wildfire.
Which is why I love
that message too.
Which is why I love the name, by the way. Which is why I love the name, because the people got to realize the value of the People Academy.
Yes.
That's where I'm going with this. We got to realize it, because if we realize it, then we will hold our elected official.
But we first got to hold ourselves accountable.
There you go.
In getting involved.
So that is the policy, brother. I don't want to preach it. I don't want to
preach, brother.
I don't want to do a dissertation on this, but this is the issue. The issue here is that this should have been in place a long time ago. It is in other communities, Larry.
Right.
I saw it on television.
We saw what we did.
Yeah.
It made a difference. That's why we have a different drug test. That's why we have an exam in the Boston Police Department that the judge just ripped apart about its discriminatory practices. This is really no different, but it was a collected effort of us, a continuation from my predecessor who replaced me, and then the one who replaced him, that we continue this together. It doesn't work when we separate ourselves.
I tell you what I'm going to do, though, because the question is, we can articulate the problem.
Yeah.
But the question is, what are you going to do about it?
Well, that's what I was going to put it on the.
I tell you what I'm going to do. The next time, and I live in Randolph, by the way. All right. I live in, is that Norfolk County? Yeah, that's Norfolk County.
Yes.
All right. So the next time a Norfolk County elected official comes to my office, or come to my home, or come and confront me when I'm shopping with my wife and say, will you vote for me? My question is going to be, have you ever heard of the People Academy?
Well, I think it's been taken a step further, Dr. Bradley. We need to go find our elected officials and get them, because they only come seeing us once every 2 years.
But my point here is that when we however we do it, are confronted with an individual who wants to actually sit in office and represent us, the question should be, are you helping the People Academy or any entity like that to better our people? So if the answer is no, I'm not voting for you.
So that's a great question.
Let me ask you a question.
I was coming to you, so let's pose this to you. You can ask your question, but what are you going to do to help the People's Academy? And then I'm going to find that same question to Dicka. Stand by, Dicka. Go ahead, Terrence, with your question, and then want to follow with the answer to that.
Okay, well, my question to that is, you know what I'm saying, I'm always there. I always will be there for T. Michael, whatever he needs. You know what I'm saying, if you need for me to make phone calls, do whatever. One thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be out here talking and leave my brother stranded.
No, I know you're not. No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Is that collectively,
my thing is, that's why I wanted to ask T. Michael is I'm not going to talk about, the white elected officials, I want to talk about the black elected officials. Are there any, because I know you talk about Baker, Baker's been a big, supporter of People's Academy, which is great, but I need to hear of how many black elected officials are your champions for this campaign along with you. Because those are the ones who we need to, who we need to get at. Because my thing is like I told a couple of them, with my incident. You can't keep having the devil tell you, something about a brother that is doing good things, but they tell you something different, and you want to be like, oh, okay, and just drop the ball.
Well, to answer, thank you for the question, Terrence. To answer that, I'm in talks with Councilor Anderson and Councilor at Large Mejia. I'm in talks with them. Right now, they're speaking the right language. They seem to have the interest and fire. However, they're not the only elected officials of color. There are folks that are on the state level, other parts of the city, the federal level, Washington, D.C., that with all that federal billions is coming for construction, infrastructure, build out, here is an opportunity. You don't have to like T. Michael. You don't have to like the People's Academy. What we're saying to you is, as long as you're about the upliftment of black and brown people, for us to teach them, to make them employable, I will sit, and like my advisor, Dorothea Jones, and Judge Harris would tell me, and Dennis Mawson, sometimes you have to hold the devil's hand to cross the bridge. I'm willing to do it as long as it to help me to make folks employable.
All right, Terrence, thank you, sir. We got to free up this line. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And call back again.
But if I may, Larry, I think, and I hear his question, and I do appreciate it. I don't mean to minimize it or mitigate anything like that, but I think that when you're dealing with the government structure that we have, you got to look at the entirety of it, because there's only so many people of color sitting in those decision making seats. What is the body of that particular level? Think about what he's doing. What is the body of the city council? Not just the black guy there or the black lady. What is the entire body? Because it's going to take. You don't get much done. When you have only one or two councilors voting, you get it done when you have multiple, the large majority of them voting. So you have to look at the entirety of that particular political body.
Let's squeeze this call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good morning, everybody. This is Jamal calling. How's everybody?
We're well, Jamal. We're trying to organize a better approach to, we've been talking about the People's Academy and trying to get some form of it, trying to get it funded, trying to get it up and running, with very little success.
So I got some suggestions for T. Michael, but first I just want to bring this up, Dr. Bradley. This occurred to me while y'all was talking earlier. Larry made a statement. He was like, in my former time as president, and earlier he was talking about he got a garage. Somebody need to check that, make sure he ain't got no classified documents.
Oh man, Mark top secret, huh?
Only you, Jamal. Oh my God. Only you. Well, the feds are waiting for me outside. You got me.
You know what?
I don't have a Corvette, so I think I'm in good shape.
Well, as long as you don't have to, be subject to a search warrant.
Right. I don't have a Corvette. So I'm good.
Now, let me tell you this other one with brother T. Michael Thomas. The one person I'm so disappointed who has really never came to use their celebrity to bear to support him is his cousin, Philip Michael, talking.
That's right.
Is that your cousin?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wish it was. Tapping into some of his money.
Oh, you got jokes this morning.
All right, but seriously, folks. Seriously, we were talking about the Embrace statue and everything, right? And 10 million there.
Yeah.
What a lot of people do not also know is that they still got another 32 million in the cut. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And what they have proposed with the project that they're doing, which is a huge project over there with Jeff Brown and Reverend Jeff Brown and all them. It's like a training center and lab space. So my first suggestion too is, if I were you, T. Mike, and I don't know if you've done this already, but there's some big major projects that are going up that you might want to talk to folks, because they're looking for space. I mean, they're looking for people to fill space who have, programmatic type of things going on. So that's one, because, they got very, very deep bank right now, and they got a lot of momentum on their side from the philanthropic world. All right. Another angle that I would also recommend is when we, let's say, we go before these elected officials, whether it's at the city or the state level. I think that what needs to happen is that there needs to be some sort of convening, because, like, when they hear it from you, I don't think that it resonates as deep as it should. I think that there needs to be convened some sort of town hall, if you will, conference, if you will, at which the issue is magnified about workforce development, the employment opportunities, the economic opportunities, so it can really resonate. At least that's a strategy that I've done.
But Jamal, to that point though, I think also with all these issues that we're seeing, and like I said, not everyone is going to college. Don't you think it's a viable solution, an option, I should say, for some of our kids that are in the school that are going to, that even if they want to go to college, they're just not prepared for that, right? That this is something that could set them up, right? I think it helps funnel some of these kids from the pipeline of prison to a way to make a living.
Oh, absolutely. We know the merits of the thing. We are literally the choir that he's preaching to, right?
Right. Because we know poverty is a huge indicator of where you're going.
But much like that, if we use the church analogy, if you're talking to your same congregants every week, that's okay. But the goal is to get new folks in the door, right? You trying to win more souls to the mission, right? So the thing for, like, T. Michael, obviously he has support in a lot of quarters in our community, but for whatever reason, it's not translating with the people who could push that go button, right? Because in my mind, this should have already been wrapped up. Right. He should already been graduating, a couple, 3-4 classes by now, right? So, and once again, because, if he was trying to do something, let's say in this city where we support so much entertainment or bourgeoisie or this or that, what have you, he would have more support. But because it is something that is really nuts and bolts, you got to get your hands dirty, blue collar. He's not having a People's Academy gala, pajama jammy jam, black tie cruise affair, right? So it hasn't clicked with the right people, and that's unfortunate. But I would definitely reach out to those folks like Embrace Boston, who have a windfall of money and are literally looking for programs to support and may have space in whatever projects that they're building.
T. Michael?
Thank you for that, Jamal. I will look into it. I never heard of it. Also, to add to what you're saying, when you look at the registration for white men in college, it's down, but it's up in the construction industry. Think about that.
Whoa, you're making
we need to focus black and brown folks to see the value and the importance of the building trades, and that's what the People's Academy is driving home. We need to get folks in a lucrative industry that's needed. They need the bodies now.
Well, I think Dr. Bradley alluded to that when he said recently having some contractors to his house, right? And what they were charging. That's why I went through this.
Yep. My mother used to tell me, all her 10 kids, if you ever want the best of everything, go to where the white folks go. You know what I mean? There's a reason why for that. You know, if you stand in, and I can tell you just been in the academia that you're correct. There is a significant downtick in registration for college for white males. Yep. There's no question about it. I see it every day. But I'm telling you that for the construction, the plumbers, electricians, and those specialty trades, it's up. And I'm telling you, they charge hard. I just had a plumber out to my house the other day, you know, because I have a problem with my pipes from my bathroom. We're talking about hundreds of dollars an hour. Right. We're not talking about, and like, dude, you know, come on. I want to just.
That's for just for the diagnosis.
You know what I mean? Not put in a whole new plumbing system. You know, that was just for the diagnosis. Exactly. So, you know, there's a lot of dough there, but we don't tend to understand that. We don't tend to know that information.
We frown on it because it's not as, like as Jamal was saying, it's not as glamorous as
and I think the sister who called previously said, she quoted Michael X when she said, only a fool will allow his enemy to train his child. Only a fool will allow his enemy to paint the image of, you know, of what's valuable in my kid's mind. You know, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is the issue is very clear, you know, and I think, you know, coming here, T. Michael, and I would think that we want to have him back here as well, because I think you need to put it out there, you know, so the community understands this is a vehicle to get us into that middle class.
Well, we've got about 2 minutes in this segment. Jamal, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to let
Jamal needs more than 30 seconds, man.
We can call back.
No, I'm going to dismount and just give the last to T. Michael, and y'all go ahead, and I'll keep listening.
All right, thank you, sir. All right.
Larry, Dr. Bradley, Pastor Hobbs, I thank Boston Praise Radio. But what I want to say is, seriously, I want folks to go on peoplesacademyinc.org. peoplesacademyinc.org. What this is, I need folks, to every elected official, every corporation, every philanthropist, whoever it is, let's show them the need for People's Academy is an investment to folks, that folks can learn a trade, that they could take care of their family, community, and contribute to the economy. This is very important. It saves lives. This is what it's about.
So let's just be the springboard, T. Michaels, to assist you. You have my commitment. Of what we can do. Let's make this be an action show, an action plan. What's the course of action for us? What are our marching orders from you, the public, and us that you need us to do? That's what we want you to get, some tangible action plans from this. We don't want this to be a conversation on the radio and then we have you back in 6 months. In 6 months, we want to have some results of the work.
Thank you, Larry. To reach out to the elected body in particular, because they're sitting on a lot of funds. For March, we want to launch a new group of individuals to train them to be trainers. We need the resources right now to get them going.
So let me ask you this question. Which elected official at what level of government you think would be best for us to reach out for on your behalf?
Well, let's do this. So we'll get the numbers in for the city council and at the state level,
okay,
and let's have folks call in their representatives
and federal level,
all three of them. That way, they hear from the people that they support the People's Academy, not just from the folks who are out there in the front, but from names that they don't hear. That they go down, they probably see T. Michael's name and Willie Bradley and Larry else. We want them to see some new names and see that list growing.
And my last question, I know we're short on time. You have to provide us information as relates to how do we get back to you.
For the top of the hour, we can get that.
Yeah, when they say
take a break. Okay.
when they say no, go on.
No, hold that thought. We'll take our break because this is important. We want to wrap it up correctly.
Okay.
All right, folks, we're going to take our break. You listen to At the Round Table with Memley, with Larry and Dr. Bradley in the house, and T. Michael Thomas is going to hang around for a few minutes, and we'll be right back.
Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle. So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting